Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population and with little or no meaningful engagement leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to citizenship and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say. 10 years ago, the idea of Office of the Citizen sounded radical, even uncomfortable. It challenged a culture that had long conditioned Nigerians to see governance as the business of politicians, not the people. But over the past decade, that simple yet powerful idea has reshaped the conversation about power, accountability, and nation building in Nigeria. The Office of the Citizen is not a slogan, it is a statement of ownership. It reclaims the truth that sovereignty lies with the people, that everyday Nigerians, regardless of class or status, holds the ultimate office in a democracy. This philosophy has inspired citizens to raise their voices against impunity, demand transparency, and participate more actively in shaping the future that they desire. Building, of course, Project Nigeria. Voices, visions, and victories marks a decade of this civic awakening, a decade of learning, unlearning, and provoking or proving that active citizen is not an abstract ideal, but a practical tool for change. From grassroots mobilization to nationwide advocacy, Nigerians have shown that when citizens set up, institutions set up. Of course, when they step up. Yet, this is not a time for self-congratulations. It is a moment for sober reflections and renewed commitment. 10 years ago, the Office of the Citizen remains both a triumph and a challenge, a reminder that democracy not only is as strong as the people who defend it, and that building Nigeria is not a government project, but a collective one. The voices have spoken, the vision is clearer, and the victories through, though hard won, are proof that citizens, when practice citizenship, when practiced intentionally, can indeed move a nation forward. It's another beautiful episode on your favorite primetime show. Glad to be back on air. My name remains Osayua Mesale. And tonight our focus is the 10 years of the Office of the Citizen, right? And this is really tagged Building Project Nigeria. We're talking about the voices, we're talking about the vision and the victories. Remember, Ways is all about you. You are the why in Ways. So be a part of the conversation by adding your voice to the discussion every single day. You can also head onto our YouTube channel. It's at Official Upgrade TV. Hit the subscribe button. Like, share, invite families and friends to watch and join the show right now. When I open the phone lines, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. As always, let me allow you ponder on my quote for the day. It says, the office of the citizen is the highest office in the land, higher than the presidents, higher than governors, because without the citizen, there is no government. And this was said by Dr. Obi Ezekwesili. We'll delve into all of this much later, but first I'll run off on a break. When I come back from that break, I'll let you in on my news interest for the day. Stay with me. All right, thanks for staying tuned. Now, the Lagos State Commissioner of Police, Mr. Olohundare Jimo has warned activists Omoyele Shorore and others against mobilizing protests over recent demolitions in the state. Jimo gave the warning while addressing newsmen in the Iyana Oworo axis of the Third Mainland Bridge on Monday in Lagos. He said that the command has made massive deployments across the city to forestall any planned demonstration that could lead to public disorder. He emphasized that the command would not tolerate any attempt to block major highways or disrupt peace currently being enjoyed in Lagos. According to him, while the Constitution guarantees freedom of expression and peaceful assembly, protests must follow due process and must not infringe on the rights of others. Yeah, protest every day. I'll move on to my next story. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board has announced the successful completion by 85 underage candidates of its rigorous screening process for exceptional admission into tertiary institution. In a statement that was issued on Monday by its head of media, Dr. Fabian Benjamin, JAM said that 85 candidates, all younger than 16, as of September 25, were found qualified for a rigorous multi-stage evaluation process. JAM explained that out of the 2,031,133 applicants in the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Exam, 41,027 candidates sought to be considered under the special category. Under this special category, 599 scored the 80% threshold in the UTME. These 599 were subjected to further scrutiny of school certificates and, of course, the PUT-ME screening, which led to the emergence of the 182 candidates. After due verifications, interviews, screenings, 85 candidates were found to have met the criteria and have consequently been cleared for admission. And the board added that JAM also advised any of the final candidates who missed the final interview to submit a formal request through its support system. The board reaffirmed its commitment to maintaining transparency, inclusiveness, and academic integrity across all tiers of the tertiary education in Nigeria. I think this is a good thing. We're still looking forward to more, would I call it, standardized processes. So this is a good step in the right direction. The federal, I'll move on to my final story. The president of Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, Dr. Mahmood Suleiman, on Monday said that the federal government owes doctors and other health workers across the country an estimated 38 billion in accumulated allowances. Suleiman said this during a press briefing in Abuja while presenting the resolutions of the extraordinary National Executive Council meeting, which followed the expiration of NERD 30-day ultimatum issued to the federal government. He warned that the resident doctors have already begun ward rounds and patient handover ahead of the planned nationwide total and indefinite strike beginning Saturday, November 1st, 2025. Suleiman explained that the outstanding payments are not limited to resident doctors, but affects all cadre of health professionals, including administrative personnel. Beyond the unpaid benefit, he noted that doctors have suffered stagnant salaries for 16 years, despite rising workload and worsening staff shortages in the health sector. Then he said that the association has presented 19 demands to the government, describing them as minimum expectations required to prevent total and indefinite strike by its members. So we're back to this strike issue again. I honestly don't know how the government prioritizes things. I would have thought that something as critical as being in the health sector, would not be something that would be pushed aside. It will be treated with the urgency that it requires. Imagine being stuck in a particular salary for 16 years. Not only that, your workload has tripled or quadrupled because, again, we've had a massive exit of doctors, health workers across, the country, leave Nigeria for better livelihood. So it's just, it should be a no-brainer. But again, when you're dealing with Nigerian government, sometimes you just need to, calm yourself down because you would almost want to give yourself a panic attack that this should be something that should not even make the news because it will be nipped in the bud and sorted immediately without even having it to escalate. Now they are threatening an indefinite and strike, right? So we don't even know what's going to happen. Hopefully we'll see whether the government is going to go the route of threatening them to say that no work, no pay, or they will sit with them and actually pay the arrears. Now, 38 billion naira. And this is where, whenever we're talking to the federal government and we're talking about things like the Calabar Coastal Highway or, other projects, renovations that have happened and all of that, like, I need to understand how the budget is planned and how it is prioritized, because it doesn't make any sense that things around healthcare, education, right, it's always seen to be taking the backseat. Right, I get it that we need infrastructure in Nigeria, but beyond infrastructure, you need people to be alive to use the infrastructure. So it doesn't make any sense that doctors are being owed, to allowances and salaries to the tune of 38 billion, and yet these funds are being used for things that we would consider not important or life-threatening. So it's a sad situation, and honestly, I don't even know how they would resolve it. I'm hoping that the government will speak to them. We still have time. Between now and 30th, we still have time. So hopefully they'll speak with them and see how we can resolve this issue before it gets to the point of an indefinite strike. Just picture this. Doctors go on strike, health workers go on strike, just for one day. The number of people that will be unalived in these hospitals, you cannot count it. It is a very, very, scary thing to even think about, not to even imagine that it would actually happen. We'll go on a break. When we come back from the break, let's discuss 10 years since the Office of the Citizen was established. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light for my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we will bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria's energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we will analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
All right, thanks for staying tuned. Now, 10 years ago, the phrase Office of the Citizen entered our civic space to remind Nigerians that the highest office in the land isn't that of the president, but of the people themselves. Now, since then, through town halls, media segments, campaigns, and partnerships, enough is enough that EIE Nigeria's Office of the Citizen Project has helped citizens ask questions. It has also helped them demand accountability and take ownership of governance. Now, celebrating a decade of this journey, today's conversation looks back at the voices, visions, and victories that have shaped the Office of the Citizen Project and looks ahead to what Project Nigeria could become if more sectors especially the private sector, join hands in building a country that truly works. And joining me, as always, is the ED, Deputy ED Programs Enough is Enough Nigeria, Ufoma Namdi Ude. Hi, Ufoma.
Hi, Uwa. Good evening.
Good
Thank you so
evening.
much for having me again.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so
Congratulations. I mean, the Office of the Citizen has become something that you, even without being conscious, right? A lot of people just talk about it. And it was not so 10 years ago. So let us walk back, 10 years before the Office of the Citizen as a phrase came to life. What was the issue? What necessitated, EIE to say, you know what, we have to take on this project and run with it and get more citizens to get engaged? What necessitated the birth of the Office of the Citizen?
Okay, thank you again. I would say that the phrase "the Office of Citizen" is the highest office in the land. From what I gathered, just being a part of the Head Office of Nigeria team, it was fair. We heard it from Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, who is the quote that she shared earlier. She said that at an event where an Office of Nigeria representatives were, and it was more like a challenge, like when she said it, talking about Nigeria's democracy and governance challenges in Nigeria, and more like a rallying call. And so I think that was in 2014. And so in 2015, within the EIE team, we decided to come up with a campaign. So that's the Office of Citizen campaign, where we were now mainstreaming and popularizing what it is that we heard from Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, to say this is an idea this is something that we need in Nigeria. And with where we are at EIE, building movements and galvanizing citizens for action, we want to turn this into a campaign. And so that's really how the Office of Citizens started. And the idea behind it is basically simple, that there would be no government, there would be no president, like Dr. Obi says, there will be no governor without citizens. The foundation of democracy is that you as a citizen, you give your power to somebody to represent you. And so if that person represents you, it means that the person is accountable to you. My executive director, Opeyemi Adamulekun, would always say it in this way, like, we gave them a job, right? And so if I give you a job, then you should come back to me to say, oh, this is what I did, this is what I didn't do, and things like that. That is the basic principle of democracy, and a representative democracy, which is what it is now, which is what we practice in Nigeria. And so, yeah, that's what the Office of Citizen campaign is about. And it's really just... And for us, in the past 10 years, it's obviously catalyzing citizens to realize that they have a voice. Catalyzing citizens to go beyond realizing that they have a voice, to use their voice to ensure that, government works for them. And in the past 10 years, we have moved. We may not have moved as much as we hoped to have moved, but we have seen wins along the way that make us know that, this past 10 years have been fruitful, and we can only just, keep looking forward to what we can get from the campaign.
Interesting. Because, over these years, we've seen truly that when citizens participate, whether it be policy reforms, or even just by getting themselves to be educated, right? They are able to demand that public accountability, even though, it's still a struggle for a lot of our political leaders, to give us that accountability. But once a citizen is breathing down their neck, you kind of see that they are a bit careful, right? And, this thing cannot be done by just, what's the word I'm looking for? Engaging civil society organizations like yours. It's a collective thing that, that has to happen. Are the government, or is the government truly afraid of the citizen? Because, sometimes when we just go around with the word Office of the Citizen, I don't think even the citizens, they understand the power that they wield, because again, these are arguments that I've heard on the streets where people would say, no, whether we vote them or we don't vote them, they go see enter there. Do you understand? They say they throw out some of these words, here and there that kind of suggest that they are not as powerful, as the office of the citizen makes them to think. So if we were to talk to the citizen now, are they as powerful as, as they are, right, as it is right now? Do they understand that power that they wield?
I think that a large number of us as Nigerians, we don't understand the power that we have. And I would always liken this to the fact that democracy is not an innate thing. You don't get born into a democracy and automatically you understand the workings of a democracy and how you should operate within a democracy. If you remember, when we talk about things like history, even civic education, I did civic education in secondary school, but it wasn't taught to me to give me agency to be able to participate in governance post-school or when I turn 18. So I just know the basic things like, when you turn 18, you can now vote in Nigeria. But it doesn't give me that agency to then say, oh my God, I'm looking forward to when I turn 18 so that I can vote. And I think that is what is lacking in our society largely. The fact that we just expect people to function, and it doesn't work like that, which is why the Office of Citizen campaign is a foundation of the Office of Citizen campaign is civic and political education, because we find that when you don't, it's beyond mobilizing citizens to do something or to organize for an action. Politicians do that, they mobilize, but they don't give you the knowledge, the requisite knowledge that you need to be able to engage, because once you have that, there are certain things that you wouldn't do. So and we must understand that we're not dealing with a ruling class that is largely illiterate. But when we talk about the masses, we're dealing with mass that is largely illiterate. And so that then causes a form of divide and dissonance in the conversations that we have. But do citizens have power? Yes, they do. Do citizens understand the power that they have? I don't think so. And I think that is the goal. One of the reasons why we talk about America's democracy, one of the reasons why we talk about how that, people there, they have a more participatory democracy, is because they understand these things. It's entrenched in their educational system.
It's so interesting.
Right? And so there's a connection within our education. You were talking earlier about why is it that something as important as education and healthcare doesn't get the needed response that it needs when it comes to policy. You see that when you look, I know how when you look through a person's financial budget, you can already tell what their priorities are. And so for us, you see that education and healthcare, they get measly percentage of our budgets. And so when you start to think about these things, you understand why Nigeria and Nigeria's development or our governance process as it is where it is today. And so for us with the Office of Citizen campaign, we are focused heavily on getting Nigerians to understand democracy, to understand government, understand governance processes so that they can engage meaningfully, right? And you must also see how that when we talk about politics and governance in Nigeria, we heavily amplify elections. And so for the average Nigerian, when they think of politics or they think of governance, they're thinking elections. But the real work of governance happens after elections. Elections one day, you do the collating, you go to courts or not, but the larger part of the person's tenure is person is spent governing. And so Nigerians need to that we go for the conversation. That's why we're talking about professional electorals.
We're having trouble with Ufoma's network. Some of the challenges we face, when we do what's the word? Zoom conversations. But you see, I wanted to ask Ufoma, maybe if she reconnects back, that if we're serious about rebuilding Nigeria, right, what should collaboration look like? Because we need to collaborate. This is now, and this is what I think most of the organizations like EIE have been doing, because they've been trying to collaborate with citizens and collaborate with the people in power to ensure that there's synergy and we're all on the same page, because collaboration has to become our own, our new culture, right? And not only stopping at just people in power, the citizen, and of course the civil society groups, private sector, private organizations, right? Because again, the real builders of any economy or any nation are the business people, are the entrepreneurs, right? So how do we put it in a way that everybody comes together, to work, lend their voices, lend their expertise, their network, their strength and all of that, and build stronger governance systems? Those are the kinds of conversation that I would love to ask Ufoma when hopefully she's able to come back. Ufoma, are you back?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. Sorry, because I lost you for a bit. So go ahead, please. You can finish your thought, then land on the question I just asked.
All right, thank you so much. I think basically what I was saying, I think the segue to the question that you asked was me talking about that because of the quality of conversations that we need to be able to have when we talk about governance, and that's where you need to see that synergy between intellectuals, professionals, private sector, as you had rightly put them, having mainstreaming these types of governance conversations, because it's important. And so responding to your question about the collaboration that is needed among citizens, that's the private sector, civil society, because at the end of the day, when you think about civic actors is a collection of different groups of people. Civic actors are not just politicians, are civic actors, right? When we talk private sector, they're civic actors. Religious-based organizations, they're civic actors as well. And so it almost seems like how we understand the civic space in Nigeria is civil society organizations. And so members of the private sector need to be able to see that good governance is good for business. When we have an enabling environment, it's good for business. It's not about looking for individual policies. So we want to have a policy on technology to make the tech ecosystem enabling for people to do business. And then when we go to the agricultural sector, we want to have that. So we then focus on singular issues as opposed to addressing the root cause of bad governance and lack of public accountability in Nigeria. And so in terms of collaborating with the private sector over the years, we've had good collaboration. That's enough is enough Nigeria now, with some organizations and individuals in the private sector. Interestingly, when we're thinking back to citizens movement and citizens action in Nigeria, we could see there were a group of people called concerned professionals. So these concerned professionals, at the time, we had people like Mr. Atedo Peter Side there, Mr. Moboluri of FCM, who's the chairman of FCMB, was also part of concerned professionals. That was just after June 12th. 1993, and they came up to say, we're not going to sit back and allow these things to happen. We had lawyers there, we had bankers, different professionals who then started to talk about issues of governance, because they understood fundamentally, when we talk about power within society, you talk about economic power, you talk about political power. And political power is very important. We saw everything that was happening at the beginning of the year with fuel and the tussle that was going on and how it was affecting the common man. But then because it touched businesses, we saw a different reaction. And so it's for the private sector to be able to understand that they play and they have a formidable role to play. If we have large number of the private sector involved in these types of conversations, we will move the needle because they have economic power. And when we're talking about, how can they do this? It's also moving beyond CSR. Like I said, we see CSR is great, and it has helped a lot of communities in Nigeria as a stopgap for what bad governance has cost them. However, beyond CSR, how can we come to a more systematic way of enabling civic act, like mainstreaming civic actors to do the work of cushioning government and ensuring that government does what it needs to do. Those are the types of conversations that we need to be having with private sector. And when we talk about collaboration as well.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so let's go on a very short break. When we come back from that break, we'll discuss more on this. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light for my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we'll analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
All right, thanks for staying tuned. If you just tuned in, we're discussing 10 years of the Office of the Citizen, right? And we're talking about building Project Nigeria, voices, visions, and victories. And I still have with me Ufoma. Ufoma, thank you so much for staying on the call. I wanted to quickly ask, right? Because sometimes 10 years go by and we are not able to count our blessings and name them one by one, right? And see really how far we've come. If we want to walk back how much impact the Office of the Citizen has had in this last 10 years, what are the key milestones, the key wins that we've had, that we can say, okay, these are the things that you can directly link to the fact that the Office of the Citizen exists. That's why this happened, that happened in governance today.
All right, thank you very much. So from our tables and just us also reviewing our impact over the years, some of the things that we've tied, something that has been very impactful for In Office of Nigeria is our radio program. So our radio program is called the Office of the Citizen Radio Program. And in the past, we've had this in 33 states of all the 36 states in Nigeria and the FCT. And I think just even looking through our success stories is to see how the radio program became or has become a mobilizing and galvanizing force where citizens have access to information that helps them to organize better. So for example, in Enugu State, we had situations of Okada riders who were basically being extorted by security officials, and every day they were going through that challenge. And we all know, I mean, in Lagos State, we know how that thing is like, even not with police now, but even with, what do we call them? Omoniles and touts and things like that. And so they were facing this in Enugu State. And then through one of our radio programs, they called into our radio program to to say, oh, this is what's happening and what can we do about it? Because our radio programs usually take a format of calling where it's not just somebody talking to you and telling you things. You can also call in to ask questions and get feedback on real-time feedback. And then we're able to take it up from there, engage the commissioner of police at the time, the IG of police at the time. And we found out that number one, that's obviously police is not supposed to be extorting citizens. Number two, the place where they had put a barricade was not even marked for that. So they were supposed to allow people to pass freely in that area. But these Okada riders didn't know that. And so they were victims of that ignorance. And so we were able to reach out to the IG of police who was there, who then put a stop to it, basically, and investigated for that to put a stop to it. So that's one. We've seen cases where through the radio program, we also had people in Ondo State, or Osun, one of those Osun states, I think. They were able to galvanize action to ensure that they had primary healthcare center. So they didn't have a primary healthcare center in that local government area, but through the Office of Citizen Radio, they were able to get that information, organize themselves, get backing to then do that. We've also had, when we talk about my LGA, which is one of our babies at EI in Nigeria, it also falls under our Office of Citizen campaign, because the goal for that project is to drive citizen demand for responsiveness in local governance. So recently in Toto, in local government in Nasarawa State, we had a situation where a community did not have access to Ugia community. They didn't have access to clean water, and it was a challenge because of what it meant for their health. And so we've set up a Office of Citizen Help Desk, where we have a desk officer that helps citizens, that engages with citizens, gives them information about how they can engage local government better, and helps them to also log complaints. And so through the help desk, they were able to raise the complaints for clean water, and the help desk officer was able to escalate the issues. And currently, they have a borehole, they have access to clean water. Before I jumped on this call, I was getting reports from Kefi local government in Nasarawa State and also Toto local government in Nasarawa State, and about how they are getting the dividend of governance because there is a mechanism that has been set up to help them demand for accountability. We've also had the case of a woman who lost her child due to medical negligence, and how the Office of Citizen Campaign and EIE was able to help was we're able to amplify her case and get her access to legal representation to ensure that she saw justice for her son who was killed. And so that's moving from, just community-based, nationwide. Because when people think about Enough is Enough Nigeria, yes, you think about us with a lot of nationwide advocacy, talking to federal government, but at the local and state level, that's also somewhere we need to put our eyes on and demand accountability very much. And so just looking through what we've achieved in the last 10 years, these are just snippets of, or is it when the former Ogun State governor wanted to go to London to congratulate the boxer Anthony Joshua for winning, and with the campaign, with the Office of Citizen campaign, we're able to say, no, you can't do that with taxpayers' money. Is that what you used our money to go and do?
He could have used his private money now for all you can. But you see, I love what you've said, because advocacy is a big part of democracy. It's something that the more we have people, the voices to speak for those that are unable to speak for themselves, the more you're able to get, help, or even get any form of relief. Protest is one of the ways to also advocate, right? So, what just happened in Oworoshoki area in Lagos State, where there's almost like a threat to protesters and Showore to say that do not come out, because again, this has been a long battle with the state government and all of that. The residents are claiming that land, belongs to them, and the government is saying another thing, another claim, and all of that. Long and short is that they have demolished some properties, and people were planning to go out on a protest. So walk me through, right? Are there other better ways to speak to power other than protest? That's number one. Number two, another mechanism that we always use whenever there are issues is strike. So let's start with the protest, then you go on to strike. Do you think there are better ways that we can go beyond protest, we can move beyond activism and see how to truly, wield the power that we already have? It is ours, right? How do we wield it better without having to do some of these normal nuances that we always do all the time?
All right, thank you. I think that I must say that protesting is a right that every Nigerian has, right? We have a right of movement and association. You can do what it is that you want, as long as you're not breaking the law. There's no way you cannot protest. I will say that. But then beyond protests, obviously you can engage government in other ways, writing to them, seeking audience, and having those conversations. The reason why, and we must not forget the reason why it's almost like protest and strike is usually like what Nigerians would usually resort to. Is because we, to a large extent, we have a government that is unwilling to listen. We have a government that they will not. So, for example, the commissioner of police can come out to say that, oh, we will not allow you to protest. We will not do this. We will not do that. But there is an issue. The issue is not protesting. The issue is the land that is in dispute between the government and the people. Why is it that the government, why can't the government, okay, we don't want you people to protest, but we will send representatives, give us representatives from your community, let's have a conversation. Let's look at your document, let's look at our document and see where the issues are.
And I think the case is even in court.
I believe any sensible. Thank you. So if the case is in court, why are you demolishing houses? And wait for it's due process. Wait for the due process to finish.
Do we respect due process in Nigeria? Do we respect that? Do we respect rule of law? And the reason I'm interjecting, yes, the reason I'm interjecting is why it further justifies why every single time we have a conflict in the country, we are moving towards protest all the time. And we are seeing that it's still not effective. Yes. So is there a better way to handle the government?
To be honest, I would say that for a government, it's like somebody that's pretending to sleep. How can you wake the person up? Right? My mother in those days is Agbara. And that's what protests seem to be like. Giving the government Agbara at the back to say you must wake up. But then I think that definitely the communities can mobilize. I mean, this is a nice thing to say. Communities should mobilize, engage the government, look for the responsible party in government, and begin to engage them. Okay, what do we need to do? Can we wait for the court to and I think for me it's a no-brainer because it's in court. The judiciary is working. If we actually respect separation of powers and we understand these things, would allow the judiciary to do what they need to do. What I think the community should do is to write to the court again to say this is what is going on and all of that. But can the government tell citizens not to protest? No.
So because it's sad. You know why I say this? Because you are the government and you're trying to get your citizens to play by the books, right? To obey the rule of law, to do things, appropriately and all of that. And you are the same government flaunting these rules, right? If there's a case in court or a court has given a judgment, if you as the government, you're not respecting the judgment of the court, how do you expect your citizens to then respect it? So it's just a very interesting, dynamics that we are faced with in Nigeria. But you know what? The Office of the Citizen, there's a Project Nigeria that we must continue to push for. And hopefully we get to that Nigeria, that El Dorado Nigeria that we are all looking for, where things are actually working and the system is actually running effectively, regardless of whether you know anybody, you don't know anybody. If you qualify for things, you get it. Like, we're asking for just better systems and plain fields for people to thrive, right? I mean, if the system is working and everybody were able to, as long as I have the expertise, I don't need to know anybody. I can get things done. That's the kind of Nigeria I am hoping for. But tell me what you think your biggest challenge is, with the Office of the Citizen, right? What's the biggest challenge that if you really had the opportunity to say that this is one challenge I really want to, overcome, with this movement of the Office of the Citizen, what would that be?
I think the biggest challenge is getting citizens to get it, right? Because it's a big challenge because of the kind of problems that we have in Nigeria and how interconnected the problems are. When you look at it from a religious or spiritual standpoint, look at it from an economic standpoint, and look at it from an educational standpoint, it's difficult for citizens to divorce themselves from their private need to understand what we need as a collective, which is what democracy is about, right? This is what we need as a collective. That's the reason why a person will sell their votes for 20,000 naira and then mortgage 4 years of their lives, right? Because we haven't been able to understand fundamentally that this 20,000 naira is not going to, but you're just thinking of your today and maybe your tomorrow. You're not thinking about your children going to school. And so for us, what we try to do is to connect these dots. So when we engage at the grassroots level, we're not just talking about you as an individual, we're saying you as a mom, your child, your son, your like these things have ripple effects. I think the major challenge is getting Nigerians to get it. And number two, another challenge would be helping us understand that what we are in for is a marathon, not a sprint, whereby it will be incremental gains and not necessarily an overnight shift, right? Because I think that one of the things that further fuels our disillusionment with government and engaging in government is, oh, but I did this, I wrote a letter, they didn't respond to me. Oh, but I came out to this and nobody did anything. Oh, but I voted and my vote didn't count, and things like that. But we need to understand that the democracies that we look up to, they are way older than our democracy, and it also takes time. And there must be, I think that's, largely what the challenge would be getting citizens to understand what it is that we're trying to do, and for them to be able to buy into it from an individual standpoint and a community standpoint. When we start talking about other things, like all the other things, I think they are peripheral problems that if you have the buy-in of Nigerians, and for them to know we're more than the people that we're trying to hold accountable, right? So yeah.
Awesome. All right, so I mean, Ufuma, as we wrap up the conversation, right? There's a lot that has been said about being, conversations around the office of the citizen. I just want you to further re-emphasize or reassure us, that this project Nigeria is worth fighting for. You know why I say this? Because I've heard a lot of people, they feel like Nigeria is a lost cause. They feel like, it's almost like you're wasting your time, just leave that country. They really they're not ready. And this is what you get with a lot of us younger generation. And that's why most people are just, packing up and leaving because they don't feel like it is worth fighting for. I mean, if there's one more thing that you would like to say, to the citizen, to say that, things have significantly moved from where we were before. And, if we keep, consistency, and we keep tenacity and all of those things, yes, we would eventually get to the Nigeria that we are all praying and hoping that we get. So what would be that word of encouragement to someone that just feels like nothing is going to change no matter what we do?
I think the word of encouragement would be that, like I said, it's not a day's job. I think one of the very first introductions that I had to politics and governance was a book by Nelson Mandela, my dad had, called Long Walk to Freedom, right? I want us to understand that many of the people that we are trying to hold accountable and we believe are not doing a great job, or the ones that are actually doing a disservice to our country, they're old people. They're in their 60s, they're in their 70s, they're in their 80s. If they live very long, they wouldn't be here in the next 20 years. But the larger population of Nigerians will be here. We get to bear the burden and the repercussion of their bad governance and their bad policies. And so we have no choice but to continue in the process. There's no feel-good response to why you should. It's just because we have no choice but to continue in the process, continue in the conversations, educating ourselves, and engaging where we need to. register for your PVC, collect your PVC, vote in an election, run for office if you must, educate yourself on proper public policy and governance if you're interested in running for office, so that you're a credible and you're a competent candidate that people can mobilize around. You're a young person, you're in the private sector, you can give to these causes, to organizations that can drive these things for you, and you become a member of the organization. Do that. Put your skin in the game, because at the end of the day, we are the people on the other side, their whole life is in the game, right? And so you see that the extent at which they're willing to go, we're not willing to go that route, because our whole skin is not in the game. And so I want us to remember that our future is really on the line, especially as young people. And this is why I do the job that I do, because my future is on the line. And I can't run anywhere. You see all of the things that are happening. When you look at world politics and what is going on in the international system, you see that the only place where you really truly have security as an individual is in your country of origin, right? Where you're not running from policy. And so Nigeria has to work for us to be able to, because you're a Nigerian, but you're somewhere else, and you're a Nigerian with the bad rep that Nigeria has. So you see, some of us have escaped Nigeria in terms of we're not living here, we don't deal with light issues and all of these issues that we talk about on social media. But Nigeria has not escaped us, because our families are here, some of our businesses are here. We are Nigerians. When we go out, they ask, "Oh, where are you from?" In Nigeria, you know how that feels like. And so we have to be invested in it. And so I want anybody that's listening or that would watch this interview to take it away that our future is on the line. And what do you do for your future? You fight for your future.
Absolutely. I mean, you've said it well. You know that thing you talked about, Nigeria, even if you leave it physically, Nigeria does not leave you, because anywhere you go, that brand
Nigeria
identity
is in love with you.
But thank you so much, Ufoma, for your time this evening. We're really hoping that things will continue to improve, because, as you said, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And I think it's that microwave mentality that we think we can just put it in the microwave and in 2 minutes, everything is done. No, it doesn't work that way. It takes time and, a lot of perseverance, persistence, consistency, and all of that for us to actually get to that Nigeria that we are all looking and praying for. But thank you so much for your time, Ufoma. All right, so a decade of the Office of the Citizen has proven one enduring fact or truth, that Nigeria's progress depends not solely on government or their actions, but on the vigilance and participation of its people. The movement has amplified voices, inspired a shared vision, and recorded victories that reminds us that democracy thrives when citizens take ownership of their nation's destiny. So as we look to the future, the challenge is to sustain this momentum. As we said, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So you must sustain this momentum to ensure that the Office of the Citizen remains active, informed, and fearless in holding power accountable. So if we must build Project Nigeria, it's not a one-time campaign, but it's a continuous process driven by the voices, visions, and victories of citizens who believe, who truly believe that their country can and must work for all. We are I'm one of those citizens. Ufoma is one of them, because the truth is we also all have, we have access to live anywhere in the world, but we have chosen to remain in Nigeria. A lot of my family members think I'm crazy staying in Nigeria, but I truly believe in Nigeria. I know what Nigeria can become if it actually is ready to embrace the potential that it has, and work actively towards building that, that potential to becoming something much more tangible. So Nigeria will work and it can work, but we all must stay in the game and we must continuously participate. So thank you again for watching. Before we go, ensure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's at Official Upgrade TV. You can interact with us further, drop your comments, and most importantly, follow all our engagements on social media, like, share, invite families and friends to watch and follow the conversation. If you missed the quote from Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, it says the Office of the Citizen is the highest office in the land, higher than the presidents, higher than the governors, because without the citizen, there is no government. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 8 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your evening.